renewable source. In 2019, we were the world first to reuse plastic as a feedstock into our assets and produce certified circular plastic products to the market. And we are currently building the first commercial plants in the Netherlands, in Geleen, to transform used plastic into pyrolysis oil, into a hydrotreated pyrolysis oil that can feed our crackers. We have many, many examples with great brand owners on the ways that we are delivering these new products. And we are very proud also to look into opportunities for closed loop, working with companies like Tesco that collect waste and that are then supplying that to us, in which we produce the materials that end up in the shelves of that same supermarket. With that, really allowing us to keep using the same toothbrush over and over and over and over and over again. The biggest challenge that we have now is to transform that business model globally. And it's a challenge and an opportunity to be here in India, to be in the southeast of Asia, and see what is present. At least 11 to 12% of all landfill is plastic. We now call that waste. You heard me already say, I call this used plastic. Because waste, the definition of waste, is something that has no value anymore that you throw away. Used plastic has value. We want to create, together with partners, an ecosystem, like we are doing in the Netherlands, in this region, to establish all the options that I just described and connect that to our asset base. So I'm more than happy that for the next 10 years, I will use a bamboo toothbrush, but after that, I will revert back to recycled plastic, because I believe in 20 years from now, our petrochemical industry is based on bio-based solutions with a circular continuation. That feels very far away, but I think nobody can still think back 40 years ago, burning gas into the air to see that as a normal practice. So I think 20 years fast forward, we will see this as a normal practice. We've solved our landfills, and we have a circular business model. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your insights, Mr. Bosch. And like you pointed out at ICCE, we also believe that waste is not waste until we waste it. And just like we pointed at the beginning, in the story of circular economy, waste would occupy the center stage and wait for a metamorphosis into valuable materials. So really pointed out by you in a very pragmatic manner. Thank you for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to inform you that our program today will feature 2 stimulating parallel sessions, each offering a unique and enriching experience. The first session will unfold here in the Silver Oak Room, while the second session will captivate your attention in the Jacaranda Hall. I am delighted to announce that both the sessions will reconvene promptly at 11:30 a.m. Now it is time for a delightful pause in our event proceedings as we announce a brief tea break. We kindly request everyone to make their way to the designated refreshment area where a selection of beverages and delectable treat await you. This is the perfect opportunity to engage in conversations, network with fellow attendees, and recharge for the rest of the event.
Thank you. See you on the other side of the break. Beginning with this panel, may we have your attention, please? We would be beginning with the panel in the next 2 minutes, so request everyone to be kindly seated. Also, we have a session on the tools to measure circularity going on in the Jacaranda Hall, if anybody would like to join in there. The first power-packed panel discussion for the day. As we are all aware, proper segregation of waste at source is essential to ensure that materials and resources can be reduced or reused effectively. Our first panel discussion on the role of segregation in circular economy shall throw light on the challenges and opportunities for effective waste segregation, discuss best practices, and identify strategies to promote its adoption. It shall also help us decode the economic benefits of effective waste segregation, including cost savings, job creation, and increased resource efficiency, culminating into sustainable growth of businesses. To set the ball rolling, join me in welcoming our moderator for the session, Mr. Pankaj Arora, Director, Public Sector Consulting, Grant Thornton. Mr. Arora has over 16 years of experience in working with the national, state, and municipal governments in India, supporting them to strategize and implement programs in the field of sustainability, environment, and waste management. He also led the implementation of the Clean India mission in Madhya Pradesh. A marvelous achievement, Indore has been proudly declared the cleanest city in India for 6 years in a row. We are also joined by Ms. Ekta Narayan, co-founder and CBO Recycle. Ms. Narayan has more than 20 years of experience in fields including education, BPO, FMCG, and sales. At Recycle, she is now on a mission to digitize the waste management and recycling ecosystem. We are also joined by Mr. Dheeraj, Associate, Niti Aayog, an environmental engineer from the University of Leeds, United Kingdom. He has been working in the urbanization vertical of Niti Aayog and is an expert in areas of urban sanitation and waste management. At Niti Aayog, he has been a core part of the team working on initiatives focused on circular economy in solid waste management. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We are also joined by Mr. Sarbotham Pejawar, CEO, The Economy. With 3 decades of global experience in organizations like Wipro and Standard Chartered Bank, he founded Simply Grameen in 2010, a rural BPO with a mission to create inclusive livelihood opportunities in rural Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, which was judged by the London School of Economics and SSON as the best case study for inclusive development. In 2017, he founded The Economy, the very successful B2B digital technology company that provides businesses with end-to-end waste management services. Over to our panel and looking forward.
So, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a chance to grab a tea or coffee. Everyone is recharged. We had a great start of this morning with a lot of rain. So I think everybody was in the need of that tea or coffee. So I think there has been a lot of talk around multiple issues regarding circular economy, waste management. We spoke about, toothbrushes. We spoke about how to deal with the plastic waste, and which is now going to call basically used plastic. Something we also coined at Mahua, where we said that used water instead of wastewater. And I'll take this moment to basically, I say that where the waste generate, it's at the origin, which is, in our houses, in our places where we consume. And the first thing is the segregation, which I believe everybody would agree plays a large role in terms of taking any resources out. And with that, I would just start with Ekta first, basically to get her thoughts around. I mean, Recycle has been doing amazing things across the value chain. So, and they have been doing it for quite some time now. And just wanted to get a perspective from Ekta that, although I know why Recycle, it's not RECYCLE, it's basically RECYKAL. So just wanted to get that understanding from Ekta, the story behind Recycle, and what are her thoughts on the segregation. Over to Ekta.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you, ICF, for inviting Recycle. My congratulations to Shalini for this wonderful, worthwhile goal that you're driving at. So yes, thanks for clearing that because often people confuse our company's name and say, कि, okay, what do you recycle? आप क्या recycle करते हो? So recycle has the Hindi wala kal in it. So kal is for a better tomorrow. The word recycle, we all know, RE is reuse, reduce, etc. So let's recycle for creating a better kal. So we all, five co-founders, Abhay Deshpande, Abhishek Deshpande, Anirudh Jalan, Vikram, and myself, we came together because when we wanted to do a business with a purpose, create an impact, and that's when Recycle took birth. It's 7 year old with 400 people across pan India. Uh, Last year, we have channelized more than 4 lakh metric tons of material over our platform, redirecting it to the destination where there's no leakage to the environment. And as Pankaj, you mentioned, yes, this topic is super interesting. Role of segregation. I will begin with the topic of circular economy, which is not really very well understood. Circular economy is a system which is regenerative or restorative by design. But what really fuels circular economy, what enables circular economy is the material and in what form the material is coming. It's very pertinent that if it is not well segregated, then there cannot be a true circular economy. It's just a greenwash. So that's something which I think I would like to talk in detail. We have been leveraging technology because we are a clean tech company and powering circular economy. We have identified several gaps and we have been continually innovating through our mobile apps, through IoT, and some of the applications like Smart Scan and Deposit Refund System, which is one of the most successful among the various solutions that we have used. And continually, we are bringing these interventions where which is meeting the challenge, leveraging technology and helping us to meet circular economy challenge. So I think I'll elaborate later.
So, Dheeraj, while a lot of these innovations could be, from the industry, they are looking at it from an opportunity perspective. But from a policy or regulation perspective, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys already know, Niti Aayog has done amazing job as far as assessing this part of the economy, which is the waste economy, and they have come out with across the industry different. Um, Basically action plans and the reports around the circular economy bringing to the specific industry, something like the Finland has done, where they have earlier you would have seen that Kimo was mentioning about 14 different industries and how they have developed different action plan, and Niti Aayog has done some basic groundwork. So Dheeraj, if you can throw some light from a policy angle, regulations angle, what kind of assessment has been done around segregation, and what are the findings and the learnings from those assessments?
Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Shalini ma'am, for having me over on this forum. To answer your question, I guess policies and regulations have been in place for years now. It's about the local body's implementation around it, and I guess that's where all the challenges starts. Like it's a very local level subject at urban local body level. So we have solid waste management rules, kinds of mandate segregation at source. And if you see the title of our panel, also it says role of segregation, but it can happen at primary level, it can happen at secondary level, and the entire conversation is all about making it at primary level, right? At the source. If you do it at secondary level at MRF, you're kind of losing out on the optimal value recovery. You will be not generating the ideal value out of the waste if you don't do it at source level. So policies and guidelines, Swachh Bharat mission rules and everything is there. I guess what the challenge is at the local level, community engagement is one thing, citizen participation is another. So unless we tackle that social engineering side of it, we'll never be able to achieve the kind of goals that we were trying to set up under these different missions. And there's one document which Niti came up with on policy guidelines for source segregation. It basically focuses on three aspects for a citizen to be doing source segregation. capability, opportunity, and motivation. Capability in terms of is he aware what kind of waste should be disposed in what kind of bin? Sometimes, our IEC needs to be very strong, right? So that is the first challenge. Once you've done that, whether the local body is giving the opportunity, so half of the times you will hear that मैं तो segregate कर लेता हूँ घर पे, but the collection happens mixed. So it's kind of a disincentive, right? So that is what the urban local body also has to kind of manage, right? You can't only be relying to the household to segregate, and then he is seeing that collection is happening anyways at mixed. So similar to, as I said, that primary segregation is important than secondary. Along with that, the segregation needs to be there across the chain. It's not just source segregation, right? Segregation needs to be as it is across the chain. So that's another. And third is motivation. So I was just discussing with Ekta what kind of incentives and disincentives you kind of make at the local body, right? That kind of motivates me. And if I'm not following, kinds of punitive charges are there. So all those things are there. It's all about the urban local bodies implementation on that side, I guess. In past few years after Swachh Bharat mission, we have seen a lot of progress, but we still need to work towards it. So we can elaborate it further later.
Thank you, Dheeraj. So over to you, Sarvotham. I mean, Jacomi, or now it's called Eco-E-Market. For those of you who do... Okay. Earlier. Okay. My bad. Yeah. So for those who know, who don't know, they are working in 200 plus cities across 24 states. So while we talk about the individual level waste generation, the segregation, I believe you do a lot of work with the B2B. So what are your learnings, how that is different than what happens at the individual level? And whether, I mean, as typically anybody would believe, because it's a business, there is a single party running, it's much easier. But just wanted to hear from your side of the ground level situation.
Thanks, Pankaj. Good morning. Again, firstly, I thank Shalini and team here having me to this Elite panel and also sharing the thoughts. We are also going to learn from all of you here, because should be a exchange of information rather than one way. That's one. And so all the best. Again, I see, and all the stakeholders, policymakers, everyone coming on this platform. This is what the need of the hour, because India is leading everywhere as the global south, where Shalini has done in a tremendous job in Helsinki. So what we look at is India is catching up. We were talking about 3 years back, India is catching up, but now we are leading the pack. So this is where, so at the outset, I appreciate the diligent and persuasive work of all my co-actors in this waste management ecosystem to bring paradigm shift, the way the mindset, because Deepankar talked about the mindset, and now even Pankaj, everyone is talking about the mindset to look waste as a resource. This is very important, which we were never thought of. When I was in the corporate earlier, around a decade back, we think it's a waste is nothing, just get it out of this organization. But today it's a core subject for every business. So if I look at, it's a urban mining for all of us. We are talking about raw material, secondary raw material extraction. That is the key. This is where we have to look at, as again, Dheeraj talked about, there should be a DNA for all of us. What that means, the policies are there, but the culture should be to implement how everyone brings from the grassroots level. It's a great initiative of Mission Life, but at the same time, what we look at it, it's not just the household, the B2B. From the B2B perspective, if you look at it, they're also not different. They are actually worse, because what they want is to just get the waste out of their premises. Now they started understanding it is not just giving waste to a one party. This is what was happening around 5 years back. When we started, let me give a quick background of Zecomi. It's called as Eco-E-Market as a legal name. Zecomi stands for Zero Waste Economy, which means our whole idea is nothing goes to waste, everything is resource, maximization of resource. When we started, there was a change management in every organization, multiple location, multiple stakeholders, procurement looks for commercial, sustainability just came in last 2-3 years saying that no, I have a red flag here. So we have to balance. This is where Zicomi brings a digital circular platform which can be accessible to all the parties within the organization, outside the organization, to make sure that the material goes seamlessly and reaches, and closing the loop where even connecting to the downstream vendors, what exactly gone, what the materials been extracted, how the environmental impact, the parameters is given back to the business. So this means the whole product is designed in such a way, whether it is a legal team or a finance or a procurement or sustainability, they know what is happening. At the same time, for regulators, they clearly know this organization done this much metric ton of wastage, which has completely gone as a resource. So when I talk about it's a change, but it is a persuasion and perseverance. We can't change an organization overnight. It has to work together. For example, I'll not give the example because I don't want to take too much time of everyone. We'll give some example because as Dheeraj and everyone is talking about, the DNA should be from the source collection, which is a primary segregation, then goes back to the secondary, tertiary, because it will not stop there. Every material, there may be composition. You need to understand when you talk about e-waste, it's not just e-waste is given, segregated and given to someone, but e-waste has multiple composition which we can think about how to extract as a secondary material. Thank you. Sorry about taking too much time.
So we have spoken about technology. We have talked about how much segregation is important. Everybody understand that. Ekta, from your side, you have also spoken about a lot of technology innovation across the waste value chain that Recycle has developed. So, and with the AI coming up and blockchain coming up, what are some of these new technology areas? How we can use technology to change the behavior change that Dheeraj spoke about, right? How technology can enable that, if you can help us understand that.
Yeah, it's a very pertinent question, Pankaj. So, as Dheeraj and Mr. Pejawar mentioned, behavior change. I think this is at the fundamental point. This is where it's the root. And behavior change cannot happen overnight. We experienced this in Kedarnath through our project Deposit Refund System. Again, technology driven project for collection of material, used material. And this was through the serialized QR code method. Now, what we thought that let's incentivize people. We declared 10 rupees, and you return your bottle. We hardly got around 1,000 bottles, and you know how many pilgrims actually go to that area. And then there was a support. The regulatory support is important because as a private limited company, we have no say. Yeah, we cannot mandate. Public or mass works under two principles or under two areas, where if it is guided by fear or if it is by greed. And we have often seen that, see, we cannot really make fear happen, but yes, the mandates can happen from the policymakers or the regulators. We got the support of the district magistrate, and then there was a formal declaration of deposit refund system in this area, entire stretch from Chopta to the temple area. And this is the most difficult terrain of the country. And what we saw was a collection of more than 2 lakh bottles, and it is in continuation. It was one of the most successful project. What happened here was we changed incentive to deposit. So when, as a consumer, you buy a bottle, you pay a little extra than MRP, that is a deposit. After finishing the product, water or cool drink, whatever it is, or your chips packet, you return the packaging to the store where you have bought it from, or any other deputed collection center. There were 14 collection center in the entire path, and you take the refund of your money through UPI. It gets back to your account, or because this was a difficult area, we even encouraged cash refund system there. So we saw the drastic change from incentive to deposit. When it comes to your money, suddenly the behavior changes. You realize it's my hard-earned money. अभी 10 रुपए मेरे पैसे हैं, मेरे को तो वापस लेना है. and this really worked, and it is a proven system across the globe. We are not talking about something very innovative. First time in India, done differently. uh, it was customized, as India needs customization, but all of you are aware, well traveled people, you must have experienced this somewhere in Europe, Australia, US, everywhere it exists, and recycling rates have moved up to 90% in this area. So this disruption of technology enabled two things: behavior change and collection of material. Collection of material, very clean material. That's very, very important. That's the crux of circular economy. You know, today a lot of people say that PET bottles are collected and recycled. But how many of us talk about the rejects at the recycler? Because it comes contaminated. The moment it touches the soil or gets into your dustbin, it's get dirty, it gets contaminated, and the rejects are huge. What happens to that? It leaks back to the environment. So that is not captured again. So it's very important to have, that's why we're talking, I think, role of segregation, a very, very serious topic. We need to understand that when something is segregated clean, only then the value of it can be recovered fully. So I think deposit refund system is one of the disruptors.
Sure. So, Ekta, just a quick follow up on that. You mentioned about taking money as a deposit. So, just for audience perspective, as a percentage wise, so if a product was, say, a 20 rupee water bottle was there, what percentage? What was that threshold? Yeah, if it had been 1 rupee, people might not have cared. So, just for an audience perspective, how much percentage was that?
So it was for Kedarnath, because being a special location, it's a mountainous, difficult terrain. The deposit amount was 10 rupees, and it was defined and fixed by the district magistrates, regulators
Irrespective
in
of the
that area,
product?
irrespective of the
Okay.
product.
Okay.
And there in that area, invariably, none of the products are sold on MRP.
Mhm.
Already, products are sold
So
20,
premium.
maybe 10 rupees, 20 rupees higher than MRP.
Mhm.
So the deposit amount was high, but usually uh, it it should be higher than the value of the material.
Right.
Otherwise, people will not
Mm. And we
care to
have
return
we
it.
done any kind of assessment, like typically, what would be the value of that material, say a packet of chips?
So we all today know that packet of chips is multi-layered plastic, and that has got very low recyclable ability in our country.
Mm.
So that doesn't really get recycled, but it needs to be collected today. And there are few people who are converting it into
Right.
small materials like bricks, etc. But the other recyclables, yes, they are very high value. And the most beautiful part is you get 20% more from the recycler when you give them, I mean, the material when we sold through
Right.
deposit
Right.
refund system, the value of material was much higher
Because
than,
it was clean.
it was very clean.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So, taking a cue from what Ekta said, I mean, that's a behavior change strategy, right? And earlier you kind of, touched upon some of those strategy that has come out in Niti's assessment. So if you could throw some light both in terms of some, assessment, some data points, that how segregation helps in terms of either increasing a value compared to, say, a soiled product or non-segregated waste, and what are some of these, behavior change strategies that, even though the ULBs or the cities or the states have to implement it, but what are some of these strategies or the best practices that they can follow on the ground?
Sure, sure. So I'll take the best practices thing first, since Ekta was talking about that it's not a one-time thing, right? It's a continuous effort, and you've achieved source segregation, for example, 100% today. It doesn't really guarantee that from tomorrow you will be having the same level of quality. And as she mentioned, the moment you have contaminated waste at a recycling point, the recycler is struggling to make profits out of it, and for him it's really important to have a quality product at the recycling point. So Indore is one example, I guess people keep talking about. I'm sure everyone must have heard a lot of times about Indore, but uh, there are few things that are not very well documented often, right? So I kind of everyone, all city commissioners are also asking their teams to visit Indore and learn. But specifically with regard to the strategies for behavior change, when I visited and I met the NGOs who were helping the corporation to achieve this source segregation, there were very unique things which I could not find in any document, and that's why then Niti thought of developing a step-by-step guide on that. One was that since I said it's not a continuous effort, so the corporation decided that for first 4 to 5 months in selected wards, we will do a lot of civic engagement. So if a waste collection vehicle is coming at my doorstep, and if I have a complaint with the corporation, irrespective of waste, even if I have a problem with my drain, my road, the waste collection person, if he raises that complaint on behalf of the resident, the commissioner will immediately respond compared to any other complaints. So there's a WhatsApp group, it escalates faster. So what they're trying to do is it's a social engineering. They're trying to connect with citizens, proving them on we care about you, right? But in on return, we want you to segregate. Right? And what happened for 3 4 months, if a household is not segregating, the NGO help person who is going along with the waste collection vehicle, he will open a plastic sheet, wear gloves, and segregate in front of the households and request them, can you please do it from tomorrow like this? If you don't do it, I get penalized. So because of your behavior, I'm getting impacted. So as Ekta mentioned, so the society works like that, right? It's an Indian culture. You really feel bad because of you, someone is getting penalized, or so it's a social engineering, and it takes time. So they took a good 4 5 months, but then it's a sustainable thing. They never reversed from that trend because it was so very well inbuilt through a system. That's one. Another best practice, which is again documented in the that policy guideline, which is about your collection efficiency. So what Indore did was, and I don't know if other cities have done it, but the waste collection vehicles, typically the smaller ones, 1 meter cube capacity. So they realized that the RTO norms allow you to carry 1,000 kg of waste in that vehicle. But since it's not densely packed, so you what happens is that your 1 meter cube capacity is filled, but your weight is only 300 400 kgs. So you are actually collecting waste one third of the vehicle's capacity. What they did, simply a ground level innovation which we should learn from. They simply changed the box on the chassis. They made it 3 meter cube. So they are not doing anything with the RTO norms. It's still 1,000 kgs. 3.2 meter cube is very well placed with the chassis. By just this simple innovation of an engineer at Indore Corporation, the corporation reduced the collection cost by 3, driver cost by 3, helper cost by 3, and the NGO help by 3. So just imagine how a simple innovation can help you. The role of segregation is that if now people have been talking about decentralized composting, since you can convert your wet waste into compost and at a very decentralized level, so that the corporation doesn't need to collect it and go to long distances. So that's again a benefit of segregation. So unless you do that segregation, you can't do decentralized composting. So all these kind of strategies are very important to learn from. Indore is one example. With regard to the assessments, I'm afraid, I mean, not segregation per se assessment, how much benefit financially it can gain. But if you see the circular economy report, I guess you mentioned, it says on current waste quantum, it says roughly about 11,000 crores for dry waste recycling, 300 crores for composting. That's the level of economy that we are talking about, and all that is on the premise of source segregation. So I guess that's one figure we can backtrack, and local corporations like Indore, those who have done these achieved source segregation, we can learn from them that before this happened, how much was your cost involved in the all the operations, and how much you're earning now.
So, having worked in Indore and still continuing our engagement with Indore, I would just like to add, I mean, the other thing that worked in Indore's favor is they found a way for multiple stakeholders to work together. So whether it is the NGO, whether it is the I mean, Indore is a unique example because they are not doing it through an outsourced agency. They have their own staff, and in addition to that, they have these NGOs, consultants. They have the local community level people who have tried to work on that. So, but it still has to kind of there has to be an economic model behind it, otherwise nothing can sustain. So from that, over to you. Just wanted to know, Pejawar, that what kind of different business models that you have seen or are evolving basis on the source segregation as the core.
So again, when we look at the business model, it's as Ekta also talked about. We are not bringing a new thought process. Whatever in EU framework we are, implementing in India, because that's a proven model. Yes, now we are catching up and we are doing much better as. Recycle done this deposit refund scheme. It's a fantastic thing. I think we have to really applaud their way of doing things, which is a case study for all of us to look at it. How can we improve? Because this is a collaboration point of view. When you look at the business model, as I said, from the business B2B perspective today, again, the change management of the mindset. When we looked at just when we started this product in 2016 to 2017, it's just saying this is a horizontal and it can be implemented, it can dispose any type of waste. It's a so easy. But when we got into the real application, that is where we found today we have around 19 industry sectors are working on our platform: pharmaceutical, IT, manufacturing, auto component. Now, when we look at their waste stream, the waste mapping is different. So the business model also should look at how we bring not only the waste adopting on the waste streams, we have to maximize the circularity. This is where adopting the technical advisory. So what we look at now, the any company digitization comes, everyone talked about digitization. It should not be just a platform, it should bring a lot of center of excellence. If you build the center of excellence, then the consulting can be part of that, the bringing a research on that. This is very important. It's not just a platform saying that you can interact between a buyer and seller. So what we found in the journey, for example, there is a seller, he has a lot of pain points. So when we looked at the pain point, for example, it's a simple, it may be when we put a lot of innovative like AI. We have developed the predictive analysis of every product commodity which goes out, so that they know, again, the NALCO or someone we can benchmark. But what we found, still there are issues because that material is having composition. Okay, let me give an example here of recalling one of the example of auto component company, where they are disposing all their boring chips and metal machining. So this is actually contained the what you call cutting oil. So what we gone into, it is not just a thing. They wanted a better price. They also wanted to see how they can improve their carbon efficiency. This is where we worked out as a pilot with them, squeezing of the cutting oil using their own in-house resources. Then it can be sold back to a foundry or any other smelting, where the prices comes more than 10% plus. At the same time, as Hector Dheeraj talked about, quality has improved because that we don't want additional facility or infrastructure at the foundry or any level. So this is something which we should look at. One. Second, when we went to pharmaceutical or any other, they talked about ETP, effluent, the treatment sludges. The sludges are just going into a landfill. That is the native. Now, how can we change it? Can we set it through the lab? How can we work it out through waste to energy plants? These are the thinking if it comes. Now, the important is it replaces the natural fuel, but at the same time, the organization also happy that it has found a place where it can go. So why I am giving this thought process, there may be a business model which becomes positive. There may be a business model, there may not be a positive, but it brings the goodwill with the organization. When we work together, you bring them what Anirban ji also talked about is a zero waste landfill certification is not just filling into a control landfill. It's much more than what can we do next? How can we do this? For example, I'll tell you another thing, what we do through our platform. We work with a lot of e-waste, battery, all recyclers. We encourage them to upgrade their technology. This is what Mission Life is all about. How can you bring the grassroots level change into the way they change their facility and become an inclusive part of the formal community? So this is where if there is a dismantler, we work with them to say, there is a technology now, for example, cement. If you look at for last 1 decade, India was not even there to extract the precious metals. What they do, when we dispose our e-waste through our platform, around 3 years back, they were doing just removing the metal, then they are segregating the plastic, then segregating glass and some electronic item, and then PCB or nothing but they make a powder of it and send it maybe Dubai or Belgium or wherever it can be extracted. Today, cement has developed this pyrolysis technology, which can go and take the smartphone or a laptop or a high-end board, which can provide much more urban mining than what it was not there. So this is one. Second, NML has also brought this physical separation. So what we are talking about here again, DNA, we should not just talk about the source collection. We have to talk about how that is being even segregated, not again send it to some manufacturing company. How can we extract the maximum value? This is what we look at. One of the things Sabik talked about today, we have started talking to some of the recyclers. Their e-waste has all this plastic. There are 7 type of plastic within the e-waste, which we never thought about it, because for me, I came from technology and all this company, we only buy laptops earlier. That plastic today, it's going and landing in a large manufacturing companies, where it becomes car steering or bumpers, dashboards. That is the beauty of it. So this means we all have an opportunity today to become this ours. How can we do repurpose, remaintain, refurbish within the same community, and you can track where it starts and where it ends. So it means it's a cradle to cradle, is a clear thinking through a technology platform. If you really implement in all the basics, again, the resource efficiency is a basic, what we are talking about here, because we are all doing undoing, as people said in the speaker note as well. So let us start thinking of every stage, whether it's a primary, secondary, tertiary, what kind of segregation, how the research, how, because we have great talents like IIT and Center of Excellence on the Science, CSIR, everyone. So we should collaborate to look at every thinking how we can improve. So I'm just digressing about the business model, but business model only arrives if we go into the depth of what is it. I thought about horizontal waste disposal through my platform in 2016, but now we are looking at the vertical, which is every company has a different pain. We have to research, we have to improve the maximization. That is where I think we are not just getting a zero certification, waste certification by giving to authorized recycler. That guy will take the use oil, but what he does, no one knows, because there are a lot of extraction can be done, and then 20%, 30% he dumps somewhere else. This is where India is a big country. We have to join hands to work along. This is what I call, this is a collaboration only makes all of us tracking this whole thought process of circularity. Thank you.
So I think there has been there have been enough reasons to talk about how segregation helps. And last night I was putting LinkedIn post on today's session, and I asked people to comment and share some of the questions they or the views they have. Thankfully, they haven't commented, but they did DM me. And one of the question was that does really segregation happens? Something you alluded to initially, and I think some of us. That's why even though we have Indore, but we do not have, say, 500 such cities, using the same kind of infrastructure or ground level service delivery. So on that front, I mean, I just want to take a counter view on this, and we know that if we do this, it will help. It's like, I don't want to, there are some sin industries, right? You know that it's not helpful, it's not healthy, but you still end up doing it. And same is probably the case with segregation. So I mean, your thoughts around it, we know it is good, we know it would help, we know it will bring, it makes business sense, but we still ending up not doing it. And there is a counter business view about having um, these plants, this waste to energy plants, right? Where you don't need segregation. You can just burn it, you make energy, you make electricity, and you are good to go. A lot of countries in the West already do that, and do that very successfully. So from that angle, just want to get your thoughts around it. And it's an open question. Whoever wants to throw some light on this.
When you talk about this waste to energy, Pankaj, it's a very nice one. We also thought it can just go into clean the furnace and done. But what we found is there is a lot of research has to happen. Because why you have to replace a fuel like coal? There should be a caloric value. So anything you dump, it will be again overhead. So there are certain thought process we should put. One, something called co-processing, which can go as replacement of sand. For example, what can, for example, today we are working with one of the real estate major to looking at about the sand, which is M sand or whatever. What can happen? The debris, construction debris, can it become again recycled? So if you look at waste to energy, also will not take everything. They have to segregate what should go as a fuel, what should go as a co-processing. If there is nothing, then it is nothing but incineration. What you are doing is a control landfill. So we have to be very clear. This is where the thought should be, why we have to get some products which is getting into incineration. That is what I think Shalini or Deepankar or everyone is talking about today. Even Sabik is started talking about, if it cannot be recyclable, then it should not come. It is in the design out stage now. So everyone is looking at it. So to go for it, just it came to my mind again what Ekta was talking about on the DRS, just recent green credit. I'm again just digressing. I think everyone should start looking at green credit, because we are just moving, we were behind EU. But I'll tell you, next 2-3 years, we will be ahead of them. The way we all work together, again, collaboration is the point. How can we bring this green credit as the behavioral change at the grassroots level, not at the corporate level? We talk about carbon economy. Carbon economy is just that's there. But let us talk about green, the inclusion as a way of life. So that is the mindset change. It's what we are looking at. Again, just digress from the waste to energy. But yes, this is my thoughts around. Thanks.
Yeah, I think the crux is definitely collaboration. You know, as my name says, Ekta, unity is strength. Certainly, there is a lot of power in this. And this is definitely the time when all the stakeholders have to come together. And business models emerge at every stage. And we Indians are definitely very, very good at this. We have seen so many startups coming up every day. There's a new budding startup in this space. It really amazes me to see, you know, the kind of innovations people are bringing in, and it all begins with the awareness. IEC, as even Dheeraj mentioned, IEC is very, very critical. So we at Recycle also give a lot of emphasis to this. We are having a program called Rethink Plus, and this is for corporates, employees beyond CXOs and sustainability officers, because everyone should know about it, what's happening, and also for the school students. This is imperative because the moment you get aware, you understand, and then you want to action. And when you want to action, then you need enablers like some policies, some like I want to segregate and throw my waste, but where do I do it? I need to have some fixed collection point where I know where I can go and return the material. So, and then also social inclusion in the entire process. So we have been involving everywhere where we work, where we are building MRFs also, and we are converting them into smart centers basically. So segregation is critical because there's value to material. We have put in so much of efforts, energy, and as talking about plastics predominantly, which is the most dominating material across, it comes from a non-renewable source. So I definitely don't advocate that, you know, burning it for energy is a good thing. We need to have a right understanding, and I'm sure segregation will also become a behavior. Today we have made a beginning, and from the right kind of education at every level, especially the next generation, I see they will be more aware around this. Today, none of us throw newspapers at home. Because I saw my mother keeping the newspaper. I don't really know the value, 8 rupees, 9 rupees kg. If I don't sell it, I give it to my driver or my maid. She happily sells and earns that money. I think this is what is going to happen tomorrow. Everyone will have one corner or one box for our used plastics also. And when this clean plastic goes back into economy, I'm sure the recyclers will have better material for recycling. I would also like to add on e-waste, there is one more challenge. Today, every gadget has got different components, several components. Just like food products or any FMCG products, you have ingredients mentioned. We don't really know what goes into making of these gadgets. Today, when I was coming to this forum at the airport, before boarding the flight, my boarding pass was checked 5 times, and there were 5 different gadgets. Was it really required? Of course, the principle of reduce has to come. I was really surprised. Even before the gate, there's one lady who's scanning my pass again. I was like, you just scanned it at this door, and now again you want to scan it at the next door. So I think there has to be a control on the extensive use of technology where it's not required, and where there is required, there should be a clear mandate from regulators to give the details of what goes into making of those products, so that when it goes for recycling, it becomes easy for people to dismantle and then take it to the next level, and have the right technologies as well to extract what can be extracted from that.
So, Dheeraj, while you address that, I have a additional part to it. I mean, we have been talking about segregation, so I'm not going to let you go without that waste to energy question. So that is one. But in addition to that, there have been different level of segregation, right? We know we started with probably dry, wet. Then we, even at Mahua, we started segregating into 6 different parts, which is plastic, non-plastic, sanitary, domestic hazardous. So, and Ambikapur, for an example, does that over 100 categories. Panji does that in 16 categories. So, is there any optimum level, and what are the possible factors to consider?
So, as you said, you will not let me go with the waste trend. I'll go with that first. It's a very pertinent question. So, imagine I've been talking about the ground level challenges. Imagine a commissioner who happens to meet a technology provider, and I met many of such technology providers who would say, "Oh, why are you worried about promoting source segregation, behavior change? It takes time. You'll be doing it for years. It's not happening. Just give me mixed waste, and I'll convert it into energy. I'll generate electricity for you." For a commissioner, it sounds like, oh, well, music to my ears, right? I've been struggling to get these things done at ground level, and you are saying you don't need segregated waste and you'll still be dealing with it. But here comes the catch. We need to really understand, when we say 3R, we cannot simply jump on the last R, which is recycle, right? The first 2 Rs are more important: reduce, reuse. So our primary motivation is to reduce, which comes from segregation, right? I spoke about decentralized. And even if you see the waste management hierarchy, eh, right now landfilling is the least preferred option. It will always remain the least preferred option. But as we want to go up the hierarchy, we want to target the topmost layer, but then it has to be a phased approach, right? So you cannot simply as we've been talking, we cannot simply turn it around in a day. It takes time. And I've been talking to for example, Ahmedabad. They're trying to do waste to electricity, and the technology provider is quite okay when he's saying that I can generate electricity with mixed waste. But tomorrow, if I get high quality only dry waste segregated at first step, and you mentioned what is the level of segregation further, his efficiency of plant is going to increase anyways, right? So your moisture content is going to be less if you get high quality, so you will be generating more electricity from per ton of waste anyway, so your financial closures are going to improve only. So that question, this is just a local level problem which the commissioner faces, and at national level we have a lot of debate and discussions around it. So I guess it's very important to understand that it's a long term phased approach, and we want to reach to the top of the waste management hierarchy through the 3 Rs, where reduce and reuse are the prime focus, and then comes the next options of waste to energy. With regard to our second questions, you're right. I mean, there are cases of Ambikapur, Panji doing, and it's amazing. Like we are struggling. We've been talking about dry and wet for last 2 hours, but if they can do it for multiple categories, great. I mean, what so was mentioning that even within e-waste, he said there are 10 different categories and different sort of plastics which have different kind of and usage. So if you can segregate to that level, it's great. But I guess we started Swachh Bharat Mission in 2014, and we still need to have a lot of dry and wet segregation first. And Indore also, if you see Indore, they did not immediately started plastic and hazardous and e-waste, right? They first focused on simple dry and wet. You need to. It's a huge challenge, complex social engineering. So you cannot burden the citizen immediately. कल से dry करना है उसमें plastic, paper, metal सब. It's just not, it's possible. And see, Indian culture, we really don't need to be taught about recycling, to be honest. If you see across socio-economic backgrounds of households in India, newspapers is one thing that you will be keeping aside, right? Why? Because you attach, certain kind of value to it. Although it would be very minimal, but you still follow. For generations have been following across economic backgrounds, I'm saying. So we understand that value very well. It's just that in the morning session, we are saying by definition, waste is something that has no value, which needs to change. So we need to really inculcate that feeling that this plastic is equivalent to my newspaper, which is generating me some value. So I guess that's
Newspaper and I think small plastic boxes, right? That's what we would like to keep all the time. And earlier it used to be plastic bags also. इसमें ये डालेंगे, इसमें ये डालेंगे. So I think it would have been very interesting. Unfortunately, we are missing out Dr. Shakuntala Srivastav. She is basically the Chief Medical Officer and responsible for the waste management at New Delhi Municipal Council, to get that view that how it is, how easy or difficult it is. She was working for over last 10 years, and to see that journey before Swachh Bharat mission, after Swachh Bharat mission, and how it's going to basically continue. So before we move further, do we have a provision for an audience questions? I think we should, otherwise it's happening very interesting. Yeah, Sodhi sir, if it is coming from you, I think we should come to that side, and rather than trying to address your queries.
No, thank you very much. Please, wonderful session going on here. I just wanted to throw light on your question, which you raised. Segregation should be and is being done. Waste to energy, end of life cycle. So there is no circular economy there. That's not the need that which we need to promote. We were talking very much when you were there in the ministry, when we were trying to put through the UNDP, and with Mishra ji, we were talking all about it when the government was trying to set up lot. But I'm very happy, and I must say that the Indian government really does take the issues very promptly and with great thought process in it. And they have come into material recovery facilities, which is segregation. What is a material recovery facility? Angrezi ka naam hai, but otherwise it's a sorting center. And that's what we want. In cities, you decentralize everything. You make wards and you make houses, you make hospitals, you make schools, and then you make promulgations that the people living in that, in markets above all. And they should do that. And in a particular area, you're making habitats, self-containing. And then you want to decentralize the waste collection. It's an absolutely not for phenomena. Therefore, we have to promulgate that there has to be decentralized centers in every city. And I'm very, very happy that people like yourselves and young startups coming there, platforms coming there. So I think so. Let's not go for the end of life. That's not going to pay you anything. We have to go for a circular economy, which is what? Transitioning from a throwaway culture, not to burn. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. If we can. Good that it has sparked some debate, so would like to hear more questions from the audience.
Thank you. It's not really a question, it's a statement in a way. And I start again in a question when we talk about segregation and businesses. If we want to put the 10 megawatt biomass power plant outside Delhi, do you know how much feedstock it needs? Let's figure it out that this room is 10 meters wide, right? So it's the amount of feedstock we need to kind of like do is 10 meters wide, 10 meters high, and 1.5 kilometers that way. So that's what the 10 megawatts will need. And when we start talking about the segregation and asking businesses to kind of like get involved, we need to help them, because nobody is going to kind of like start collecting from moms and pops, because they need to do that right from the beginning. We need to help them also to become a business. And we need to understand the magnitudes and causalities when we talk about this whole thing.
So, Kimo, just to answer your question, Delhi already has 2 waste-to-energy plant. I mean, the last I checked, operational, with a capacity of almost 20 megawatt. We generate, I am also a contributor, even though I travel from Noida, but I still kind of, come here for work. So we generate around about 12,000 metric ton per day. And I mean, that's the kind of state. That's why we, some of the hills we have of waste in the morning we spoke about is because of probably non-segregation, not being able to use those facilities in its right earnest. And but some of our mega cities are facing this issue. That one is the space crunch, which is why some of those cities have gone that route, and we kind of miss out working either way. It's like putting our feet in two boats.
Yeah, exactly. And then it comes to the point that, I mean, you can't store that on your backyard either. So you have to have like a constant kind of stream of that supply to coming in. And that's why we need to kind of like, I think that it starts right from the households. It starts from our own behavior. 5 years ago in Finland, I was living in a housing community, which like is quite normal in Finland. Say we like 9 houses, and we had the 2 municipal waste waste bags, one for the paper and one for the cardboard. Now we have one for the glass, one for the a plastic, one for the metal. But I mean, nobody understands the plastic things. I mean, it's like, I mean, the plastic for the consumer is a plastic, and we can't kind of like be responsible of, I mean, what kind of plastic it is. So that's kind of like we need to also understand the kind of limitations what the humans are willing to do. But we need to also kind of like starting from the households, because that's the easiest way to start doing this.
Can somebody help with passing on the mic? Yeah.
Thank you, Pankaj, for giving me the opportunity.
Ma'am, your name also, please.
Yeah, I'm
Kimo, we know, so.
I'm Sanchita Jindal. I used to be in the Ministry of Environment and Forest and was involved in making all those rules, 6, rather 7, I would say, because fly ash notification also we took out in 2016. And I'm happy that the concepts we had introduced in the rules with long discussion, you must be knowing with the Ministry of Urban Development, we had the discussion for 6 years for these revised rules. So all those concepts of segregation are now picking up by quite a number of municipal bodies, and it has been included in Swachh Bharat, and I'm happy to see that there quite a lot of debate. But only thing what my concern and botheration is that when we are talking of segregation, we are talking of only segregation into 2 streams. हर जगह ड्राई गीला कूड़ा सूखा कूड़ा बस यही होता है. But with a lot of thought, we had introduced the 3rd stream, which is the domestic hazardous waste, and which is very important to segregate first, because it will make toxic all other waste. Even if you compost, it will make toxic. So we should need more emphasis on domestic hazardous waste and where it will go. And secondly, why segregate? Unless the household people, like we had introduced in the rules, but how the behavioral change, we need to take only 2 steps. First, we can correlate with the health issues. कि आप नहीं करेंगे तो क्या health effect होगा, आपके पानी में जाएगा, soil में जाएगा, all those we need to educate them about concerning their own health. Like I keep teaching my people कि नहीं, अगर तुम नहीं करोगे तो तुम्हारे lungs में जाएगा, तुम जला रहे हो उसको तो it is going to your lungs only, तो तुमको कैंसर हो जाएगा. तो उनको थोड़ा डराएंगे, कुछ करेंगे तो people start. And secondly, the economic value. These are the 2 only things how the people or the consumer or the general public can segregate. So, and coming to that waste to energy, we had been, ministry, you must be knowing, was so dead against waste to energy. So many plants came that time and it again shut down. And now I see everywhere waste to energy is coming. So on one side, we are talking of circular economy, and other side, we are promoting waste to energy, which is end of life, which is not the, so now probably the government, I'm not no more in the government, but government should come out with the clear-cut guidelines ki, although in the plastic waste, the end of life they have given ki that whatever going to waste to energy will not be considered as EPR. So that's a good deterrent, but still the lot of guidelines are needed that clarity is needed, that why not waste to energy, why so much emphasis on waste to energy, as you just now told, it's so much music too, and it's so much money involved in that. So you know what I am talking. So that is why waste of energy is being promoted everywhere. So we need to, when we are talking of circular economy, we need to discourage end of life, more and more material into the circle. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I think there was somebody, that gentleman, there are two gentlemen in the back. Can somebody help with the mics, please?
Hello. So myself Nitesh Patel, and some comments and some questions. We were talking about waste to energy, and uh, first thing, the circularity. It's about extending the lifespan of the product. So if you're burning something immediately without utilizing it to the its potential, I think that is not falls into the criteria of circularity. So waste to energy, yes, it is the last remorse of the unusable, or we can say which is really a waste. We cannot do anything out of it. Second thing, we talked about this behavioral change, right? And still we start with segregation as the first step. But I think we are missing on an important part of reducing it from the source as well. First, we have to have behavioral change in reducing to the household people and to the citizens. Then only we come with the segregation. And then when we talk about behavioral change, what about behavioral change of the regulators? Because you gave a very good example of Indore, right? But no other municipality wants to, implicate it or replicate it. And this is, we have seen a lot, because I have worked with industry on resource efficiency, cleaner production. We had very good examples, but the industry next door don't want to apply to it. So this is what Niti Aayog wants to do about it, that it should be, synchronized. These things can be, explored and implemented at the most. At least, what are the best practices being already, shown that it is going to give the results. So that is what I wanted to mention. And yeah, and I also have an example that now we are also dealing with this RDF, thing which is coming up from the legacy waste, and then there is a component called as low value plastic, which is not as being used, and there is an innovator who has developed that it can be converted to some tiles and bricks and all those things very successfully, but he is not getting any takers. So even the innovations are coming up, there is no system or mechanism which can uh, help those innovators to build the business case, and then those waste is being again came back to some of the meaningful applications. So that's what I wanted to say.
No, with regard to the, as ma'am mentioned, I agree. The concerned ministry should come up with the clear guidelines, and Niti can provide because we are a policy think tank, can provide the policy gap analysis and support to, come out with a very clear guidelines and policies which doesn't create this kind of confusions at the local level. So to that level, certainly we'll work on it. With regard to your other question, which is about is it waste to energy? If I'm not wrong.
No, the regulators, how you can, you can promote those regulators to, implement those best practices at large, basically.
Yeah. So see, I mean, we came up with a best practices book also in plastics. Also, there is a book called Waste Wise Cities with Center for Science and Environment. We did. Uh, to be honest, I've never heard that this no one wants to replicate Indore. Uh, and I'm not saying it's not, it doesn't hold true. I'm just saying I have not heard this. There may be challenges in replication, but with regard to, well, the panel is all about source segregation. I mean, what you want to do at the processing stage, there might be a difference of opinions. We've been discussing waste to energy, composting, bio CNG is coming up. Under Gobar, then you want to grow compressed biogas. You want to commingle it with city gas distribution. So a lot of schemes and a lot of different options are available. So such challenges of industries must be heard. And I mean, what at Niti can do is we can kind of evaluate what kind of challenges exist, what kind of policy gaps are actually disabling solutions at local level. We can address to that, and we'll do it with concerned ministries. Is what I can say for now.
Okay, I think in the interest of time, yeah, please.
Again, just to answer one of the questions on the waste to energy, I think we cannot just sweep everything onto a saying that waste to energy is ultimately gone as the end of life. Why we are doing that? No, there is a difference between incineration and waste to energy. So what we are looking at is how to maximize the waste to energy, because we should not abuse waste to energy for incineration. So there are a couple of products. For example, now what I talked about is, can we replace the coal as the waste to energy? That is where we have to look at any MLBs or whatever are if what is the quality of the caloric value. For example, slags, which Mr. Anirban Ghosh talked about, whether the slags can go as a with the composition of sulfur and limestone. So those research will bring the thought process how we can do improve the index of circularity. So otherwise, like end of product, like expiry products, which absolutely goes as an incineration, we should look at it. So otherwise, what we look at it, how to do co-processing versus the incineration. That's the only my point of view, but we have to work in that direction to make sure that it should not be just as a incineration. That's all. Thanks.
I think we have got enough hints that we need to close, and we can take this separately. Happy to do that. We don't want the food to get waste, because there is another session that we need to do. The whole day otherwise get longer. Please rest assured, we'll be here for the whole day. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we will take our conversations further. With this, thank you everyone, and thank you everyone in the panel, Ekta, Pajayaji, and Dheeraj, for all your support and being very candid with all your comments, feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Opportunity to invite on stage Mr. Antti Harlavi to please felicitate our panelists. Request you to please stay back here for a minute, please. Mr. Antti Harlavi from the Finland Embassy, please. Inching closer for a group picture to capture the moment. Once again, thanking our panel for such a comprehensive and dynamic discussion. We dived into topics touching the B2B side of it, with Mr. Pejabar from Zikomi speaking about data and tech advisory ramping up. On the other end, we had Miss Ekta talk about recycle. For people who are from outside India, a small brief about language Hindi. We use the same word for yesterday and tomorrow, and that was what Miss Narayan was talking about, our actions of today having repercussions on our actions of tomorrow. The word being kal for both yesterday and tomorrow. We had Mr. Dheeraj telling us how talent is universal in terms of giving ideas, but opportunities are not, and how Niti Aayog is creating those opportunities and bridging the policy gaps. And thank you, Mr. Arora, for asking the right questions and helping us get the right answers.